In this video, I'm going to teach you how to create a three-dimensional sign using Chipboard. First, you want to create a very well-crafted and colored sketch because your sketch will inform how you create your three-dimensional sign from start to finish. An excellent three-dimensional sign will have at least 3 or more different levels. So as you design your sketch, make sure you overlap different shapes so that you have clear areas that can be constructed as different levels. When you have completed your sketch, your next step will be to draw out your separate levels on pieces of chipboard. I think it's best to start with the top level first and work your way down, leaving the base level for last. As you can see, you will be using strips of chipboard, either 1-inch or 1/2-inch pre-cut strips, to create height for each of your levels. You'll also use these strips to make rafters inside, which will support your levels so that they won't collapse. This is a great example here on what it looks like when you've created rafters for support. Now, before you worry about adding height and adding the rafters, you do want to draw and cut out all of the shapes that you wish to have in your sign. Then you'll be ready to manipulate the strips by cutting and folding them and then gluing them to give your pieces the height that you want for each level and the support that you need. Watch how I just manipulate this cardboard here and fold it and bend it and position it so that I can get it lined up the way that I want it to be glued. Then once I'm ready, I can apply some Elmer's glue and use clothespins to help hold it in place while it dries. There is one more little trick I can share with you. By taking your scissors and flattening the edge that you're going to apply glue to, you can give the cardboard a little bit more surface area to hold the glue, and this will just make everything stay together better. When you're ready to add glue, I think it's best to put the glue on the strip itself and then begin to position it how you want it to go, adding as many clothespins as you need and leaving the clothespins in place for approximately 10 or more minutes. Next, I want to show you how to add rafters and explain the importance of them. I believe you should insert rafters every 1 to 2 inches for support. The rafters will really help make your sign stable, it will help it not collapse, and it will help it not warp when you add the paint. So you can see how to insert the rafters. I first just cut a strip that's going to fit inside of the space I already had created. I fold both ends to create a tab. It doesn't really matter what direction that they're folded in. They could be folded in the same direction or in 2 different directions. And then you're going to insert them and add your Elmer's glue. Next, I want to talk to you about cutting chipboard. I believe scissors are your best tool for cutting this material. I do not recommend using X-Acto knives for this. When cutting using scissors, the best area of the blade to use is the area closest to the handle, and I think it works best, especially when cutting round shapes, to cut in small cuts. So make small cuts using the part of the blade closest to the handle and just continuously turn the chipboard to get the curves that you're after. The last big tip I have for you for creating your three-dimensional sign is to work in stages. So sometimes the glue is just going to need some time to dry. So what I found worked best is sometimes I would create the strip and get it placed how I want it to be, get it folded, get it glued together as I'm doing here, and then I'll put on some clothespins to help hold it in place, and I'll just set that piece aside and work on another area. Usually the glue only takes about 10 minutes or so to firm up, and then I can remove the clothespins and move on. So you'll see here, I'm just working on a few different areas at a time. I have some really small pieces here that I'm adding height to, and that made it pretty tricky sometimes to get everything to stay glued. Surprisingly, the bigger pieces tend to be easier to work with than the smaller ones. But after just about 10 minutes, I could take off one of the clothespins and I could glue on the other end and then just let it dry. As you work, you're going to accumulate a lot of pieces along with your different levels, so make sure you have a good place to store them all. My students, you're going to be storing all of yours in your tray that's labeled with your name, because we're not going to glue any of the levels together until we're finished painting all of them. As you can see, the last level that I'm adding height to now is the base level. This is the bottom of the sign, and it's important to have height on this as well because it also gives it a good place to actually hang the sign from. Now, all you need is a nail in a wall, and you can hang your sign very simply on that nail. You'll probably need plenty of clothespins for this because you'll have a lot of rafters inserted in your base level, but just keep in mind that you only need about 10 minutes or so of drying time before you can remove those clothespins, and then it can be more helpful to place something heavy like a book or binder on top of the level so that all of the chipboard rafters actually stay down and get glued on firmly to your base. I hope this video helped explain to you how to create a three-dimensional sign out of chipboard. Stick around for part 2, where I'll show you how to add paint to your sign's levels and then attach all of your levels together for a completed three-dimensional sign.